What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder, and welcome back to another week, another episode. Thank you all so much for joining me. Real quick, you guys know the routine. If you are a listener of this show, I appreciate you guys. I really do. Please take the time, and it will take you literally probably 30 seconds to go and basically go on iTunes if you're listening on iTunes and rate this show. Please 5-star review it, and also just leave a little comment or write something nice like this show's the best show you've ever listened to, something like that. And it actually makes a big difference, and it'll get this show seen by more and more people like yourself, or heard by more and more people like yourselves. So really appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and give it a like. And once again, I appreciate all you guys for listening. So today I'm doing a solo episode. Uh, and I wanted to come on here because I have a topic I've kind of wanted, a lot of the topics that I have, and that's why I'll do these solo episodes, kind of come to my mind as my busy weeks go by here. And, start I start thinking about some good topics to actually talk to you guys about and teach you, because that's what this show's all about, teaching you what to look for in the construction and real estate industries. So one thing that kind of keeps coming up, and I deal with it on a daily basis, is cost plus pricing versus fixed cost pricing. Now, in the building world, there's two ways really. Well, there's more than two ways, but the two primary ways in construction or a new home and custom home, once again, I'm speaking for myself here, is to do a cost plus build or a fixed cost build. So I wanted to get into what the differences are of those two. And because I have to kind of explain this to people. So, us personally, we're more of a cost plus builder. We've done fixed costs plenty of times. We did fixed costs for many years. And now we have, not recently, but for a majority of our builds now, we're doing cost plus. The reason being is because we're so custom, it is just easier to do it that way because there's so many unknowns in a custom home build, and especially when you're doing larger luxury homes. So we made that transition to cost plus just because, in my opinion, it's more fair to the client versus doing something that's fixed. Now, I want to get into this and explain why, because I get clients all the time, and my competition, a lot of my competition does fixed cost builds, and they preach about how fixed cost is better, how cost plus builders are out there to screw you, and blah, 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 blah. So, and there's nothing against fixed cost. I mean, I've done it in the past. It's just a harder structure to do, and as far as the builders end, you're not as covered as a builder, but there's a lot of things we have to do as a builder in a fixed cost to cover ourselves and make sure we are fully covered to where we don't lose money. If you're smart doing that, I should say. So, with further ado, let's get into this a little bit. Once again, solo episode. Thank you guys all for listening, coming out this week. I'm going to have more interviews coming up. So excited about that. We have hit well over 10,000 downloads, which is great. Growth as far as per episode is growing each and every week. A lot of the past episodes are getting listened to like crazy. The show is growing, and we're being listened to all over all over the world, all over the country. It's crazy. So I really do appreciate you guys listening to me. Please tell your friends, family, spread the word about this podcast. I'm going to keep on doing it. I do it for free because I want to help you guys. So thank you. I can't say it enough how much I appreciate you all as listeners. So, cost plus versus fixed costs. Let's kind of go into what they are. So cost plus, the contractor estimates the base cost of the project. The base cost includes the price of materials, labor, and overhead. The plus is the profit. So this is a definition. In a cost plus contract, the profit is calculated separately before construction and written into the contract as an additional fee. Okay. So basically what we're doing on a cost plus is, we aren't really estimating the total cost overall. Whatever our subcontractors charge us, we have a fee on top of it, whatever the builder's fee may be, whether it's 15, 20, 25%, depends on the builder. So basically the customer is paying those exact costs from those contractors with that builder's 20% or whatever percentage fee on top of it, just to give you an idea of it. Usually billing, I'm speaking for us personally, we do it month to month. So every bill that comes in, we invoice out, we pay it, and then we invoice the customer, showcasing everything that we have paid for that month. And then our fee is on the bottom line. And then they also get to see the bills that came in as well. That's just how we structure it. We try and keep everything as organized as possible so everybody sees exactly what we are spending and paying for. That's the proper way to do it. So this isn't really about proper and improper ways. I'm kind of teaching you guys in this episode. That might be a future episode, but this one, let's focus on the differences. So fixed price contracts, a fixed price contract establishes a single lump sum cost for the construction project up front. This type of contract is an agreement to complete a project at a set price that includes all costs and profits. So, what you're doing in a fixed cost contract basically is the builder is coming up with the total price up front for that build, and then you're agreeing on that price up front. Versus cost plus, you don't really have an established price. It's kind of an open book. Versus fixed, everything is established. Usually they give you some kind of feature list that doesn't include it's very, most builders, not most, but there are some builders out there that kind of give you a vague feature list that you don't really know the type of material you're getting. But that's how they're so cheap when they do this. But a lot of the less expensive builders, they do fixed cost and they use a lot of cheaper materials. We've done fixed costs, like I said. We used a lot of higher end, started with a lot of higher end stuff too, but you still got into that tit for tat stuff, which I'll get into later. So first, let's go into cost plus and the benefits of cost plus and why I switched to cost plus as a builder versus doing fixed costs. And one of the biggest advantages is there's more transparency of cost and fees. There's really no inflation in cost at all. So everything is there. It's in front of you. You see all the costs that come in. There's no inflation. There's nothing. I basically still monitor what prices are coming in as far as what our subcontractors are bidding. I keep that in check, make sure it's tracked properly. I mean, if there's a price increase on material, that's understandable, but you still have to kind of watch the labor prices. When material skyrockets within a 2 week to a month period, I question it. So anyways, back to the transparency of the cost plus. Basically, you are seeing everything up front. You are seeing all, you're seeing all the costs that come in that we've paid for and so on. So there's really no inflation in the cost. um, Next thing, also more decisions can be made by clients during the building process. This allows for more input into the build process and purchases. So with fixed costs, there's not a lot of give and take. You kind of, it is what it is. What it is, what you see is what you get. Versus cost plus, it's more going back to the custom builder like myself. You have a lot more options, you have a lot more give and take. So, if you want to make a different tile selection or a different countertop or a different cabinet or a different appliance or lighting, there's a lot more flexibility in a cost plus because you're paying exactly, you're knowing the number that's coming in. You're just paying that builder's percentage on top of that versus a fixed cost. You're kind of stuck with what you got. And if you go outside of that, more than likely a builder's going to hit you with a fee per their contract, and then they're going to upcharge you that percentage as well. So just something to think about right there. Uh, compared with fixed cost pricing, it's also much faster to change or implement new ideas. So fixed cost, everything's kind of set out in stone. It is what it is. So if you make any kind of change, it counts as a change order. Like I said, more than likely that builder is going to pop you for that change order. If they allow you even to do it, depends if it's track home or production home builder. Usually they don't give you many options versus a custom builder. But with custom builds too, you make a change. Like I said, it's much faster because we can make these changes as the house progress. So that's another thing. Another big advantage is that since your contractor has less incentive to save money and cut project cost, and this is a big one here too. I preach about this all the time to people that actually question cost plus. There are far fewer quality controls or control risks in materials and labor. So with fixed costs, the thing is, and I'm going to brush on this when I get into the cons of fixed costs, but one thing is too, is that if there's a set budget, think about this. There's a set budget on a fixed cost, right? The contractor has every there's no incentive for him to go and get the highest quality product. There's why would he? He's got to spend more money on a higher end quality product versus getting something cheaper where he's going to put more money into his pocket. So think about that. Fixed cost, most builders want to just not all of them, but a lot of them want to build a product as inexpensive as possible to put more profit into their pocket versus cost plus. That's not how it goes. You're paying for that quality product. We, as the builder and the custom men, are going to give our recommendations of what's going to be a better product, what's going to last the longest, and what's not going to have you turning around later on 10 years or 5 years down the road to replace it, which is going to cost you more money. So cost plus advantage too is there's no incentive for a builder to go the cheaper route. We basically want to use the higher end materials, if you get what I'm saying on that one. uh, Another thing is, like I said, there's no cutting corners or hiding potential problems, as they stand to earn more money by being transparent with higher end, doing more quality work and so on. So with a fixed cost contract, there are many contractors that aim to keep, and we talked about this, they aim to keep the material costs down and as low as possible. So just be careful of that on a fixed cost. Just make sure, my advice going off of that is know what you're going to get. I always tell people, I have people message me all the time, hey man, I'm shopping for builders. They're in different areas, whatever. Can you look at this guy and vet him for me and so on? Well, I mean, I just give them advice. If I had time to vet every builder and give my recommendation, I would. But my advice to you is, if you are shopping builders, and they are a fixed cost builder, you get a feature sheet. Make sure that feature sheet's as detailed as possible. Learn what you're reading. Like, look up the stuff, research the stuff that you're getting, the insulation, all those different things, because they do matter. You're spending a lot of money on a house. You should research and know exactly what you're getting. And not a lot of builders uh, put a lot of detail on those feature sheets. They kind of keep them very simple for a reason. So you want to question everything up front. You're paying them, so you have the right to know. That's my advice on that. So now let's go to some fears of cost plus. Now, some people with cost plus jobs, they have fear, that cost plus pricing is a pricing strategy that generally doesn't establish a price before the construction starts. So that's one of the fears right there for people. And I get that all the time, is I'm not going to really know how much I'm spending. I don't want to have it as an open book. I have a budget and I want to know how much this house is going to cost up front. So that argument with me, usually what I do is I tell these people, I go, okay, how about this? I'll bid out the job. It's going to take me a little bit longer. So if you're patient, I'm happy to do this. I'm going to bid out the job. I'll get you a pretty firm cost up front, unless you do some other extravagant stuff that later on, we're going to have to determine later on, once again, benefit of cost plus. That's fine with us. But from what the plan says currently, I can give you a good ballpark, but not even a ballpark, a good, pretty firm bid off of what the plan is right now. And then we could kind of go from there, and that'll give you a good idea. And, give or take, you spend another 50 to 100,000 or whatever it ends up being. So most of the time they're okay with that. And that helps out on that kind of fear of, I don't want to, I don't know the cost up front, what cost plus versus a fixed cost. So that's one thing there. Another drawback with cost plus pricing is that there's no incentive for the contractors to control or monitor the building costs. So this is another argument, and this is something that another builder has said to a customer I was dealing with, because that specific builder knew we were a cost plus builder. My argument to that is, I monitor every single cost, because if you think about it, and this is what exact thing I tell my customers, I have to. If it was a free for all, it would hurt me and my brother as a builder, because it think about it this way. I have to do spec houses too. We have to develop projects and investment properties on our own as well. So we're building for ourselves as well as building for our customers. I tell this to my customers all the time. So it is in my benefit to check my subcontractors every single day, which in my office specifically, it goes through 3 different sets of eyes. Not one, not two, three. It ends up on my desk. I am the third to confirm that that price is still where it was since the last bid. And if it went up a little bit, I question my subcontractor why. I tell this story too. I had a tile bid come in. It came in higher. I noticed it. Things were marked up higher. I don't know. I didn't know why. I confronted my tile guy about it, because things secretly happen like that with subcontractors all the time. Whether you are a fixed cost builder or a cost plus builder, doesn't make a difference to them. They don't know that anyway. So I talked to my tile guy. Underlayment was up like 15 cents. I talked to him about it. And after I confronted him about it and asked him that makes no sense, magically the underlayment went back down 15 cents. So it's in my it's it's in my benefit as a builder to question these things and make sure our costs are where they should be, no matter what. Whether we're cost plus builder or fixed cost builder, it doesn't make a difference. I need to keep my subcontractors in check for me personally and for every single client that works with us. So those are just a few fears of cost plus. Now let's go into fixed costs. So once again, guys, just so you know, a fixed price contract establishes a single lump sum cost for a construction project up front. So basically what you're doing with fixed costs is you're coming up with the total cost up front and then presenting that on a proposal to the client, and this is how much it's going to cost to build your specific house. So anyway, positives of it: fixed price pricing gives both the client and contractor a predictable cost of the construction project before it even starts. The contract builder in this case is looking to keep all overall costs low with this method, since he or she has also committed to a specific price. This can often translate into better costs for the client in addition to a smoother build process. Now, as far as smoother build process, what I mean by that and cheaper cost is that in a fixed cost, like I said, that contractor usually has certain materials that they will use within that cost. Fixed means what you see is what you get. So if you go into a model home, you see that specific model home. Most of the time, the fancy stuff that you're seeing in that house are going to be upgrades. The builder will show you how much those upgrades usually cost if you want to add them, or you can just have a plain Jane house. But anyway, it's give or take, and that it's what you see is what you get. Now, anytime you go to a store, you see something you like, you want to add it into that house, that is an upcharge. So, that is going to be something they're going to hit you with. It's going to be an upcharge. It's outside of the contract. And usually they might hit you with a fee on top of another percentage charge. So just to give you a heads up on that, it's not always a smoother build process. I think personally, Cost Plus is a lot smoother. I'm currently building for another builder who said he wouldn't do it any other way. Just because throughout the process you are so in tune. So fixed costs, you do mostly draws. That's how we used to do it. We had like 8 draws over time versus Cost Plus is every month. So every month they're getting a bill. They're seeing everything that we are paying for and all transactions that are happening throughout that process. So that makes a big difference. So it kind of keeps the customer in the loop of where and what stage they are actually at in the process as well. So those are just I'm big advocate on Cost Plus, guys, because being in building and doing it as long as we have, it's just been so much better working with clients that way too, and our clients will testify to it as well. But it's up to the builder. I'm just giving you guys kind of the heads up just so you learn what these both are. Nothing against fixed costs, but usually fixed costs, there's a lot on nickel and dime. So let's get into some of those downsides of a fixed cost build. So downsides are the estimation cost for a construction project is only perceived, right? So, and what if a greater contingency occurs? For contractors, if actual costs exceed estimated costs, they may take a huge financial hit. So, what are they usually going to do? Contractors not going to want to take a financial hit. So, what are they going to do? They're going to upcharge you. Everything is extra, extra, extra. So back in the day when we used to actually do fixed cost builds, this used to be an issue with us and we used to start in the higher end too. And I always used to get, well, I thought you had this in the model and I got that, or I thought you had that. Well, everybody can't get everything because they don't want to pay for everything. So the main stuff that people didn't want, that people wanted, we included in that fixed cost estimate, but the other fancier ceilings, stuff like that was not included. But then you'd get in an argument of why isn't that included? You said everything is what I get. So there's a lot of nickel and dime that happens with fixed costs, in my opinion, versus cost plus there's a lot less. So, if the actual cost of an item somebody picks exceeds the amount of what a contractor allowed, that's an issue. So the contractor is more than likely going to try and figure out how he can make that money back. Some way, somehow he will. And how is he going to do it? Whether he cheapens up something somewhere or he tries to get it out of you per his contract. He had a little paragraph in there saying you're going to pay me 18% markup on any other extra thing on top of a fee for going outside of the fixed cost. So these are things to watch out for, and that's what this show's all about, what to look for in the construction and real estate industry. So this is a huge thing to look for. And another thing is here on the other hand, so since the contractor's profit is not transparent, a bad contractor might be tempted to spend as little as possible in order to make more profit. Contractors are rewarded and earn profit by keeping the cost of the construction project low. And I talk about this one all the time to people too when they ask me the differences of, all right, well, if you're cost plus, why is this guy fixed costs, or why is he at this price versus this price? They're saving money somewhere to be that low of a square foot price. And if you guys want to go back to the pricing episode too, go check that out as what to look for. That was and the episode I did about cost is about cost and how to kind of distinguish cost between contractors and so on. Go check that one out. But so back to this though. So on a fixed cost too, you know, they basically the contractor is going to give you his best price because they want to compete, and there's a lot of competition out there, and especially now that things are busy. So for them to compete and have that low price, they're going to have to skimp on the quality of material to maintain that lower price. And if you're fine with that, that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't want the highest end quality. They don't want a crazy expensive house. And I mean, quality all the time doesn't mean super expensive too. There's quality materials in other forms that aren't really that expensive that make a huge difference. But that's what a lot of contractors are doing in that aspect with a fixed cost is fixed costs. They're competing against another builder and they want to beat that builder's price. So, that's what they're going to show you up front, but they're going to cut corners some way, somehow. And that's why I get into the feature sheet part of this whole thing, too, is just having a good detailed features list so you can see and actually know, what you're getting up front. And it's so important to research all these things and do the legwork because a lot of people are in a hurry in this industry. A lot of people want to rush through this stuff and they just need a house now. I need to build now. But it's so important to kind of vet all this stuff out and know exactly what you're getting in this stuff, guys. So I don't know. I hope this one helps. This was a short one. I hope it helps kind of, because that's both the way those are two basically both ways a builder's going to present you a build and lower, I mean, in the cheaper houses and the production homes, stuff like that, most of them are doing fixed costs. What you see is what you get. But when you get into a custom home, a lot of builders are going to do cost plus because on the end and are in the end, both it benefits us as the builder because obviously we're going to make profit and we're not cutting our throats basically in terms of losing money and so on because we bid so low, which that's not how we operate as a custom builder. Most of the time I got a guy I'm meeting with tomorrow. He's iffy on the cost plus thing. And I'm going to tell him everything I've said here and I'm going to explain to him why it benefits him in the long run. And one of the major things too, just real quick to get into this and kind of end on this is I actually tell people so with cost plus, I don't have to pad anything up. When I'm bidding on fixed costs, which I still bid on fixed costs, I have people that bring me blueprints that want a fixed price. So I'll do it, but and then they'll have to sign a cost plus contract. But anyway, when I bid fixed, I tell these people too, I have to pad up certain things because I don't know the exact of what it's going to cost me. Lumber, for example. I can't get a bid on exactly how much lumber it's going to cost or how much lumber I'm going to put in that house. And that customer can't tell me exactly what ceiling details and everything they're going to want in that house because most customers do not go to the extent of doing full on architecturals as far as ceiling details, cabinetry, everything full on designed. So a lot of the ceiling stuff's a guess. So in a 6,000 square foot house, I'm not going to know exactly how much trim that I'm going to need. So what do? I pad up that cost. I have to, because if I'm doing a fixed cost, I'm going to want to pad it up more to where I know I'm covered versus cost plus, you're going to pay for the amount that was used on top of our fee. So think about that. That's just a little example for you right there. But anyway, guys, this was a quick episode. I really appreciate you all listening. I hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you learned something today. Thank you all for always tuning in every single week. I'm Bill Ryman, your broker builder. Thank you for watching listening to the real build as well. This is on YouTube. And I will see you guys on the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment, 5-star ratings. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you next week.